Hey, bartender, I think you made a mistake. Look, I most definitely ordered the Italian gentleman riding his bike through the piazza with his pant leg rolled slightly up above his ankle. But it really tastes like you gave me an itsy-bitsy teeny-weeny fresh and berry great martini instead.
Oh, I'm so sorry about that, sir. Would you like me to make you another drink?
No, thanks. Honestly, I don't think either drink is pretentious enough for me.
Do you live, eat, and sleep the hotel industry? Looking to brush up on your game? You've come to the right place. Welcome to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast with your host, Glenn Hausman.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the No Vacancy podcast with me, Glenn Hausman, and my co-host today, Jeff Polly. Jeff, how you doing?
Hola, ¿cómo está?
¿Cómo está? So I'm so glad to see that you are back, and miracle of miracles, you are in your house. You somehow managed to avoid having it burned down with the Ventura fires last week. So really excited for you. Congratulations on not losing everything.
Yeah, that was kind of a nice little surprise. We had a little bit of a weird Tuesday morning last week. For those of everybody that watches the news, my house was, I don't know, about 200 yards on both the west and the east side engulfed in flames. So my wife and I packed up what we could, got out, and came back about a week later. And fortunately, the firefighters have been managed to save our little area. So we're just dealing now with the outside smelling like a 24-hour campfire right now.
Yeah, I bet under normal circumstances the campfire smells kind of nice, but I guess with what you're going through, it's just terrible. It makes you think about all those other poor people that lost their homes and valuables.
Yeah, a lot of people lost their homes. A lot of people, in this Christmas season, which is, kind of what the show is about, unfortunately, they are displaced. And what we're finding out, too, is in this area, it's so smoky and the fire is so big that, kids and seniors with asthma problems and lung problems are having a real hard time living. So it's probably best for them to not come back to the area, or if they are, they're wearing masks. So pretty crazy in California right now.
Oh, yeah. Well, again, I'm very happy to see that your stuff is okay, if not for everybody. And somehow, congratulations to Jeff for getting that show done last week. I know he was supposed to be on last week. He's on this week, but still managed to put the show together and edit it for all of you. So a big thank you to Jeff on that. And while we're saying thanks and stuff like that, I want to thank each and every one of you for downloading the show week after week. Especially, I want to thank Duetto, because this show today is brought to you in part by Duetto, the revenue strategy technology platform that thousands of hotels are using to make more money and beat growth rates. Be sure to check out all of their success stories from brands like Red Lion Hotels at getrevenueresults.com. That's getrevenueresults.com. Jeff, I love what the guys over at Duetto are doing. It's terrific to see that even in the height of the market, and we're setting records still month after month for how much money hotels can bring, that they're able to add further dollars to the bottom line. So it's pretty cool service out there. And thank you guys out there for supporting it, Duetto. And be sure to check out, again, getrevenueresults.com. And also, text the word hotel to 66866 if you're not getting our weekly newsletter. That's 66866. We want you to get our weekly newsletter every Sunday night delivered straight to your mailbox. And be sure to check out the all-new NoVacancyNews.com. Listen, you got to let me know what you think. I put a lot of time and effort into getting this site up. It's nothing less than my entire future here is at stake. So please check it out, NoVacancyNews.com. So that's not too melodramatic, is it there, Jeff?
No. I mean, again, you put a lot of time and effort into everything, all the information you're putting out. And, I'm not a hotel guy. I'm not in the industry, but I read this stuff. I, pay attention to this stuff. And honestly, it's informative. And, whether or not I'm a hotel guy and I'm in the hotel business, I'm still learning stuff from you and your network. So Awesome job, Glenn.
Well, I'd like to say thank you for actually learning stuff on it, because I used to have a job back in the day. I can now say back in the day because it's been several years. And the people there worked there for a very, very long time. So I give them credit to staying at the same job for a long time, but somehow managed to learn nothing more about the hotel industry during their entire time. So I'm glad to see that at least you're picking up some information here and learning from what I'm doing.
I will admit it probably took me about 3 or 4 years to figure out what ADR stood for, but you know.
And for all of those attending Hotel 101 classes, that's average daily rate. So guess what, Jeff? This is super exciting. Before we get into our topic, one more exciting thing. You're not going to believe this, but somebody's actually supporting us now at patreon.com. That's patreon.com/novacancy. Someone actually supporting us. And I got to thank Mr. Craig Sullivan out there for putting some money down every single month to support our show. Now all we need is like another 1,000 people, and hey, we're in big luck here.
Well, you know, Craig is a great guy. He's got a great organization. And, you know, I wasn't at his at Click last year, but I heard amazing things about it, not just from you, but from people that attended. And I would say Click 2 is going to be even bigger and better. And, you know, California Lodging is, you know, up and coming, and you got to ride that wave as it's going, right?
It sure is. I mean, California, if separated from the United States, which I have a feeling you guys want to be more so these days, it's the 5th biggest economy in the world. So to have a show dedicated specifically to California is great. That's going to be taking place March 8th in Orange County. I believe it's the Orange County Hilton. Check out clickconference.com. That's CLIconference.com. There's going to be a great ad for it at the break. Use the code NOVACANCY to register. I get credit, you get a discount. It's a big, big win. And then coming up March 27th to March 30th, our little humble show here has been named the official podcast of the AHOA Convention and Trade Show. And I'm really excited that we'll be broadcasting live from there, getting lots of great interviews. It's the largest hospitality and convention trade show in the world. And if you're not there, you're missing absolutely everything. We'll be there capturing stories and advice from the thousands of folks that are living out the American dream every single day. I love that AHOA community, and some of the biggest names are going to be there in the industry. And I also want to thank good folks over at Red Roof for sponsoring it. You won't be able to miss our booth this year. It's going to be clear plexiglass, so with a big red roof on it. Jeff, hopefully they figured out a way to get us oxygen in there, or otherwise we're going to be pretty lightheaded the entire time.
Well, that would be good, because, you know, the way the AHOA people party and mingle and converse and everything, like, oxygen's probably a good thing, you know. Can we set one of those oxygen bars up, the refreshers things? Because I don't think at AHOA I sleep at all.
No, I like that idea. I think that's a really good idea. It's impossible to sleep at the AHOA events because they start some of their events super late in the evening and they go all night long, and then you're expected to be up first thing in the morning, and we've got to be broadcasting from, you know, first thing in the morning to till in the evening. But I like that idea of having the oxygen things. I got the headphones on in my ears. I'll get the oxygen thing in my nose. I got the microphone from my mouth. All of my all the holes in my head are taken care of for once. It's nice.
Yeah, if we could only find some duct tape for your mouth in front of the mic.
Yes, that would be great. I can totally picture the podcast right now. That'd be great, entertaining stuff right there. So, Jeff, happy holiday season to you. Congratulations on making it this far in the year. Only as we're recording this and releasing the show, only 10 days for Christmas, and you know how much this Jew here loves Christmas.
Woohoo! Christmas time. Yeah, you know, I see, you know, my wife and I, we don't have kids. We live across the country from our family, and we don't really see them at Christmas time. So, you know, you and I were kind of trying to think about things to talk about for this particular show. And I mentioned that, you know, there's all these great options to step away from the traditional Christmas setting and do something that, you know, is maybe less time consuming. Maybe you don't have to cook a dinner. Maybe you don't, you know, want all of your family packed up in your little tiny house. And I think that a lot of people don't realize that there's all these hotels that are offering amazing holiday packages to, you know, up the level of your Christmas season spirit.
Well, that's not going to affect my ability to go get Chinese food and see a movie on Christmas Day, because that's a Jewish tradition. I mean, I have to do that, don't I?
I'm pretty sure that there's probably packages that do that. Let me do a Google search while we're doing that. I guarantee you, I can find a very special Chinese food and movie hotel package for this holiday season.
So while Jeff is going to take 0.8 seconds for Google to find that, I just want to say that it's a well-known fact that there's nothing more than Jews like on Christmas than seeing a movie and getting some Chinese food. But, we love Christmas. We love everything about it. In fact, we love Christmas music. And it's probably because Jews have written a lot of your favorite Christmas songs out there. And I've been thinking about this lately. It's Hanukkah, and no better way to celebrate Hanukkah than talk about Christmas songs written by Jews. We got the Christmas song, Chestnuts Roasting on an Open Fire. White Christmas, probably the most popular Christmas song of all time. Winter Wonderland, written by a Jew. Sleigh Ride. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. I'll be home for Christmas. Silver bells, rocking around the Christmas tree. It's the most wonderful time of year. Do you hear what I hear? Have a holly jolly Christmas. Home for the holidays. Woo, Santa baby, and it goes on and on. I mean, I'd love that the Jewish people somehow have written the soundtrack for Christmas. Pretty fun there.
It's something I didn't realize because honestly, I'm not a Christmas guy. I don't ever turn on Christmas music. So, have at it, Glenn.
I'm a sucker.
Go get your Chinese food and put your iPod on, and you can listen to all the classic Christmas songs written by Jewish composers.
I like the ones written by Jews. I like the ones written by Christians. I like the ones written by pretty much everybody. I'm such a sucker for the Christmas music. It's a couple of weeks during the year. I always listen to it. I just heard I think it was the Waitresses. They did that song. Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. I think I'll get this one this year. I just heard that for the first time today, so that was a lot of fun. And it got me thinking about how excited I am to maybe stay in a hotel over the Christmas holiday. So, Jeff, what do you got for us?
All right. So let's do, I got several different lists. I got several different things I want to cover, because again, I think there's a lot of options to step away from the traditional Christmas, whether you are a family, whether you're a single person, or whether you're a couple that doesn't necessarily have the traditional family. And, this might not be the best list to talk about 10 days out from this Christmas, but maybe it gives you an idea of what you can do for next year or the year coming up or years coming up. Because, again, we don't have to, if you don't have family, you don't have to sit at home and mope around and wish that you had family. There's tons of stuff to do. So,
could we mope around and wish we didn't have a family? I think there are a lot of people feeling that way too.
So the first list that I have is real quick. It's hotel packages, and these hotels are coming up with all these great ways to kind of excuse me. These packages are designed around an ultimate Christmas experience. A lot of them include horse-drawn sleigh rides and gingerbread house building and cookie decorating and a selection of holiday movies that are on big screens to watch. First one is up is the resort at Paws Up in Green Knoll, Montana.
This is a place that I am dying to go to. Ever since it opened years ago, I've been wanting to go check that place out. They've got luxury tent experiences, and it looks just like a really cool place. So what do they got? What do they got set up for Christmas?
Yeah, again, they have it all for a Christmas package. It starts at under $600 a night for a family of four. So
that's a pretty good deal, actually, when you think about it from a family of four perspective.
If you think about it, it's like I said, it's could possibly be the ultimate white Christmas type of experience, being in Montana and being out in the wilderness and having that option to do horse-drawn sleigh rides and going out and finding a Christmas tree that's not cut down and putting some decorations on it or things like that. So yeah, that's number one on the list. Second one is the exact opposite. Some people don't like snow. They don't like white Christmases. So the Omnia at Amelia Island Plantation in Amelia Island, Florida, is probably a good place for you if you want to escape the snow and maybe get a little bit of a Florida beach resort Christmas going on.
I like that. I want to go to Florida, especially at this time of year when it's not nearly as humid and you can actually hang out outside, which is nice. Because as we're recording this show, I'm looking out and it's snowing and it's like 20 degrees here, and it makes me very sad there, Jeff. I want some sun in my life.
Well, the Omnia over there, it just completed an $85 million renovation.
Ooh.
And its elves and eggnog package is delivering a 20% discount for anything over a 2-night stay. And again, it's a Christmas-based package. Go there. You don't have to worry about what air mattresses you're going to blow up so the kids can sleep on the floor and Uncle Joe sleeps in their bed.
Lucky for Uncle Joe.
Yeah. Going on with
at least you didn't say Grandpa Joe, because I'm still a little pissed at Grandpa Joe, for hanging out in bed for 20 years, not working, making Charlie of the Chocolate Factory's mom, having to work all that time, and then he gets one golden ticket, pops right out of bed, and he's fine. I'd be really pissed off if I was that family.
If you think about it, they just kind of got up and danced, and I would have figured after being so sedentary for a long time that they would have had a hard time moving, but they all just whipped right up and danced to Jake.
Well, you gotta dance. I just saw Singing in the Rain for the first time in my life, so I got that song in my head right now. Gotta dance. So good. I love classic Hollywood stuff.
I'm pretty sure this might be the first show that you've actually sang on, and you've done it twice now.
Pretty sure it's going to be the last one as well.
Okay, so let's continue with the beach theme. The Hotel Del Coronado.
Love that hotel, San Diego, Coronado Island, super historic. Also featured in the movie, of course, Some Like It Hot, and one of the most prominent haunted hotels in the country. So what do they have in store for us?
They've got an outdoor ice skating rink under the palms. They've got
sweet.
a Victorian-style Christmas village, a really popular holiday show. They've got Santa gondolier rides, elf tuck-ins, and Victorian teas, and a special Christmas brunch. And all of this is included or in some way or another in their special holiday magic packages that start at $374 a night for a family of 4.
Nice. I like it. That's such a great hotel. I mean, it really is. And that is like the biggest beach I've ever seen at a hotel too. And one of the coolest things that I like about it, when you're sitting in the balcony on your room looking over the Pacific Ocean, you get to see the most incredible military airplanes fly by. And if you're lucky, you'll see an aircraft carrier or something sail on by, which is so super cool.
Yeah, it's an awesome place. The whole island of Coronado is great because, you're in you're so close to San Diego, and San Diego is just this bustling city. And then you get over to the Coronado Island and it's just this sleepy little island beach town, and really kind of a different world with just a short bridge ride over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. What else you got for us?
So one more package. I'm going to talk about Mohonk Mountain House in
Mohonk Mountain House,
New York.
All right, I should say to everybody, I have not seen this list. I have not heard this list. We're across the country from each other. We didn't email this to each other. I just happen to know all these hotels. They're so cool. Mohonk Mountain House is such a great property. It's really set. It is a hotel set in the mountains in upstate New York, and what I love about it is the original cast of Saturday Night Live used to go there every single summer during break before September to go and start to write skits, and I suppose ingest a lot of drugs as well. So little Mohonk Mountain House factoid there for you.
That's awesome. I've never been to this property in particular, but they have a December Delight package that starts at under $200 per person, and it includes decorated Christmas trees and all kinds of holiday activities like a family Yule hog lunch and craft making and caroling. So again, something that they put together to really kind of up your Christmas experience.
Nice. I love it. And, and I think the lesson that we're learning from all of these things is when you put together a fun and interesting package, not only is it a great marketing tool for you if you're a hotelier out there, but it allows you to hide what the actual cost of all these are and basically charge a premium pricing. When you put all these things together, you could charge more than if they were all put together in separate little elements. So that's the big takeaway that I want you guys to take away from today. Think about what's fun. Think about what's unique. Think about what's different in your community community, about your hotel, and see how you can combine all of those things and get people interested in staying with you.
Yeah. And, again, this is just information that I did on a simple search. And, for anybody that's saying to themselves, well, I never thought of going away for Christmas. It's as easy as getting on Google and the next little section, I'm just going to rifle off all the hotels that offer some sort of really special Christmas package. So the Inn at Christmas Place, Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, Congress Hall in Cape May, New Jersey, Gaylord Opryland. Every single one of them has their own cool little Christmas type of package that they offer.
I was at the Gaylord in Nashville for the Best Western Annual Conference, where I got to do a fun speaking engagement. And while I was there, the resort went from regular resort to Christmas resort, I think overnight. It was really cool, really awesome to see. And I just missed the ice display thing that they started putting together by one day. So that was a total depressing thing for me.
Yeah. If you're into that thing, the ice displays, I know from being a Florida native for a little while, the ice displays in Orlando are one of the biggest tickets in town in the month of December. So it's huge. So I'm going to, again, finish off this list real quick. The Marriott Stone Mountain Inn in Stone Mountain Park, Georgia, Red Jacket Mountain Review Resort in Jackson, New Hampshire, in Seattle, in Asheville, North Carolina, back in New Hampshire. There's just hotel and resort after hotel that offer up some really cool type of Christmas package for, family oriented or just a couple. Next thing I wanted to get into, and I know that I see this a lot. I see a lot of people that are kind of like my wife and I, and we don't necessarily go see our families because we live completely across the country for them. So there's all kinds of great ways to celebrate Christmas in the non-traditional sense. My wife and I, we like to take trips. We like to go snowboarding on Christmas Day. And it's a little known, a lot of people don't realize this, but Christmas Day snowboarding is pretty much the best day of the year.
I thought that was the Super Bowl, you told me. Are you spreading fake news there, Jeff?
Super Bowl Sunday is right up there, but Christmas Day, there's no one out there. It's, you take a resort like Vail that obviously has Christmas packages and things, but no one's going out Saturday morning or Christmas morning because they have their presents to give and they have their dinners to have and everything like that. So if you're not a traditionalist, you can go out and snowboard to your heart's content with not having to worry about the huge crowds and hustle and bustle.
I like that. That's a really good tip. That's one of the fun things about some of these major holidays. You can get out, you could do some stuff and avoid the crowds. And I know some people that do stuff like that just so they can have the quietness, and then going ahead and they celebrate the holiday just on another day or the next day just in order to have a little bit more fun on the actual holiday.
Right. I was listening to I was watching an interview with Lewis Black recently, and he was mentioning his Christmas plans. And about 15 years ago, he said, we just stopped doing the traditional family Christmas, and I started taking a trip. And whether it's him going to Europe or whether it's him going to Egypt or Asia or anywhere else out that Christmas holiday time is a great time to be able to get out there and experience places that you normally wouldn't experience because, the crowds are more at home and not doing as much traveling. So, I think it's a good option, especially if you're a couple like me or a single person, to where you could go to singles resorts or, take solo trips at this time of year.
Yeah, smart. I think that's really good advice. And, I'm just sitting here thinking about it right now. I'm wondering if there's any way to do any special non-Christmas packages, like put it the week before, put it the week after, and have a fall Christmas type of a package. I think that might be a fun idea as well.
Yeah, well, I was in my research for this, I was reading about singles cruises, and a lot of singles cruises over the actual Christmas holiday don't go because families book up those cruises a lot more. Whereas if you are a single person, you want to go on a single cruise over the holiday, it said it was best to do it the week before the holiday. And apparently a lot of people are taking these cruises at that time.
Great. I think that's a terrific idea, and I love what the cruise industry is doing as well. They're smart, they're innovative, they're doing lots of good stuff. Anything else there today?
Yeah. So just a real quick, if you're in New York, the Carlisle Hotel, you don't have to necessarily stay at a hotel to get the Christmas experience. There's all kinds of hotels out there that are offering up Christmas dinners and Christmas brunches. So that way you can be at home, but you can go to this amazing hotel and have them cook your food for you instead of slaving away over a hot, stove and making a bad dried out turkey that no one really likes.
Right. Or just do what me and my family do. Go see that movie. Go have that Chinese food. It's really rewarding. I promise you.
I think this year we might have to try that. Although my wife absolutely 100% insists that I make her a turkey at some point over the Christmas season. So maybe on Christmas Day we'll try the Chinese thing.
Well, I think you do the snowboarding in the morning. Then go have some Peking duck in the evening. Do your turkey later on. It's gonna be a win-win. Trust me on this one.
Okay. Well, just to finish this out, I'm gonna rifle off a list again of hotels that have great meals or Christmas dinners or brunches that if you're in the area you can go check out. Like I said, the Carlisle Hotel in New York, the Langham Place on Fifth Avenue.
Langham.
Again,
Yep.
Apparently an amazing Christmas dinner is offered there.
I don't know about that, but I've been to the hotel, and I say I don't know about that, but I haven't eaten the meal. I'm not making a comment about the meal, but that hotel is awesome. It is really, really a nice, luxurious hotel. First place I think I saw a $20 cocktail at, and I totally get it. It's got a great bar downstairs, usually a lot of jazz music. I love being there. And one time between you and me, Jeff, just between us guys, I had a little too much bourbon one day while my family was off seeing the Lion King. I think I won in that exchange.
Well, that's awesome. This next hotel I've actually been to, and I thought it was amazing. Never been there in Christmas time, but apparently it's got just tons of stuff. So if you're in Chicago and you're looking for some place, Swiss Hotel Chicago is apparently killing it with the amenities that they're offering over the holidays.
Beautiful. That it for the list? Nope, one more.
Yeah. How about the Breakers? Let's go back down to
another great hotel,
to Florida.
Yeah.
Fantastic hotel, stunning holiday decor, awesome Christmas dinner offered, and again, a way to get out of the white Christmas, or if you're there local, a way to get out of having to cook for 10 people that you don't necessarily like, right?
That's true. I love it, and there's nothing better than going out for a great meal with family, with friends. I think that's what we all know the future is all about. Great experiences with the people that you love. Jeff, thanks for putting together such a great list today.
Hey, my pleasure. Hopefully everybody enjoyed it, got a little information, and happy holidays to everyone.
Ho, ho, ho. Happy holidays to everybody. Now, before we go to commercial break, I did want to let you know that what you're going to be hearing is a great interview all about the Moxy Times Square that I recorded when I was in New York City last month. I say in New York City, like I don't live outside New York City. I traveled there. But Jeff, you were there. Pretty cool hotel, right?
Super cool little hotel, and I say little, but yeah, awesome experience. right in the middle of wherever you need to be in New York. Like, I was really impressed by it.
Yeah, so we really get into the details on how this hotel project was put together and some of the innovative things they did, as well as the Lightstone Group, who developed the properties, partnership with Tao Group, who handles all the food and beverage. And you might know Tao Group from being, the most profitable restaurant in the entire country, most revenue, I should say, of any restaurant in the entire country. And that's Tao Las Vegas. Of course, I'm sure 98% of it comes from overpriced bottles during bottle service, but still the most impressive. I think they have like 3 of the top 10 grossing restaurants in the entire country. Great interview. You should check it out and make sure you stay at the Moxy Times Square. I really loved it. It was interesting. If you're into the hotel business, this shows you where things are going. So Jeff, thanks so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me. My pleasure. And I'm sure I'll be on it soon again, right?
I'm sure you will be. Can't get away from that. Love having you on. And I want to thank all of you guys for listening, and we'll be right back with that great interview right after this message.
Have a question for your host, Glenn? Tweet him now at Traveling Glenn. No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast. We'll be right back.
From Eureka to San Diego and Malibu to Bakersfield, the California Lodging Investment Conference, CLIC, is one of a kind, focusing exclusively on our Golden States hotel market. CLIC was launched in 2016 by Craig Sullivan, a seasoned hospitality industry professional, to harness the knowledge of our industry leaders, support our community, and educate emerging talent. CLIC brings together lodging professionals from California and beyond for one day of learning, professional development, and networking. If you are an owner, operator, investor, broker, developer, lender, management company, brand, or professional services provider, you should plan on attending CLIC 2 on March 8th, 2018 at the Hilton Irvine Orange County Airport. We invite you to go check out the California Lodging Investment Conference website at cliconference.com for the latest details and sponsorship opportunities. Early registration now open. And as a listener of the No Vacancy with Glenn Hausman podcast, please make sure to use our exclusive discount code of No Vacancy when registering for this one-of-a-kind in California hospitality event that sold out in its very first year.
Back to the show. It's No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast with your host, Glenn Hausman.
Go right into it. All right, guys. Sorry, I'm a little bit tired and exhausted today. It's not my fault, though. It's never my fault. I'm going to completely blame Mitchell Hochberg here because I'm here at the Moxy Times Square, and I had just a little too much fun here last night. So I don't know whether or not to praise you or be really offended by having so much fun there, Mitchell.
That's what we like to hear. That's what we like to hear.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, you've hardly been open. You just opened in September. Is that the case?
Right.
So it's great. This place is at 37th and 7th. 36th, between 6th and 7th on 37th.
Right.
I'm telling you,
36th and 7th. That was a test.
This is why I like the long form podcasts. I could spend 20 minutes just focusing on addresses for the entire time, which is really a great way to win over the audience, I personally think. So, a great time, and thank you for being so convenient, too, because I just jumped on the Long Island Railroad, walked 2 blocks from the train station, boom, I'm here. It was great for my stay at BDNY, which was at Javits Center, and I think that BDNY basically just moved over here completely last night. The place was really packed, really exciting, and a lot going on. So, congratulations on opening the Moxy Times Square here, sir.
Thank you. We're very excited about it. Actually, the location was one of the things that we were very focused on when we first bought the property. Being adjacent to Penn Station, Madison Square Garden, and Times Square is obviously very appealing both to the local community, which is important to us, but also people that are coming to New York.
Yeah, for sure. And I should say that the owner-developer here is Lightstone, which is great. You own about 36 properties open or in development currently, right?
Right. We have about 36 hotels that we own. Most of them are select service. But we're in the midst of a major development platform with Marriott to develop 7 Moxys throughout the country.
That's pretty wild. And you have hotels far flung throughout the country, but we're going to focus mostly on the whole idea of Moxy today. This is actually my first time actually seeing and experiencing a Moxy. I stayed here last night. I'm staying again tonight. So it's a lot of fun really getting to have the chance to experience this brand firsthand instead of just hearing about it, So why Moxy for you folks? Why do you think this is the way to go with such a commitment with one company?
Well, one of the things that we started with was looking for how we wanted to build hotels in New York. Obviously, New York historically has a occupancy in the high 80s, low 90s, which any other place in the country would kill for.
Right.
And one of the reasons is the cost of developing is so expensive. So today, to develop a hotel in New York City probably would cost between $750,000 to over $1 million a key.
Wow. Yeah.
Which obviously makes it very difficult unless you're doing 5-star luxury plus.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you still saw some of those 5-star buildings trade here in the city for $1 million plus a key, but that's not your category.
Right.
So
we felt if we could come up with a way to build an affordable product, right, that clearly we would have a strong demand for it. So we looked at different ways of doing it. The cost of land is pretty fixed in New York. We looked at the cost of construction. We even evaluated doing prefab, but became very difficult logistically in New York, both moving the prefabs over bridges and through tunnels, which is very difficult, or even closing streets to erect prefab. And then we started to look at different places in the world that have different types of hotels. And we found, not surprisingly, that particularly in Western Europe, the average size of a hotel room is considerably smaller than it is in New York. Right.
Well, I don't know. I mean, other than one or two large rooms I've seen, most what I tell you is, select service ones. It's like it's so tiny. You just have the bed, and then you're squishing yourself around, and and you're walking sideways to get through. So, New York City, not large rooms. I think it's pretty normal.
Well, there's not large and there's not large, right? Right. So I think if you look at select service in the city, they probably range around 250 square feet, plus or minus. We wanted to see if we could build a room that was 175 square feet, plus or minus, and therefore obviously get a higher density and be able to charge a less price.
Right, and I think that's really the key for you guys to make it work. You have 612 rooms in this building. That's pretty substantial, and the rooms. Yes, they're theoretically small, but they don't feel small. And I would say cozy, but cozy's been co-opted as a negative word. So, don't know if I'd use that either. But I felt like it had the right amount of space for why I want to use it. And I think as a customer in New York City, it's a little bit different what I expect from the in-room experience than I do when I'm in other places.
Right. And I think the brand, as we look at it, works great in a major city and major urban areas where you're not spending time in the room. We were inspired somewhat by cruise ships. If you take a look at a cruise ship, the room is very small, right? But it's very thoughtfully laid out, tastefully appointed. And the reason is you're not spending that much time in the room. You're either on your shore excursions or you're out in the restaurants and bars on the ship. And we said to ourselves, why not start from scratch, right? And put some real thought into the design, the layout, and to the things that are important to our guest. And the things that we focused on are really a great bed and a great shower. Right. So we have great mattresses. We have 300 thread count sheets. We have a shower that's as big as a shower in a Ritz-Carlton, right? And the furniture, which is typically what fills up the rest of the room, is really fairly compact, and it's all foldable and hangs up on a peg wall.
Right.
So when you need the desk, you take the desk off the wall, you open it up and use it, and when you're not using it, it's back up on the wall. Same thing for the chair, same thing for the luggage rack. So it really is an efficient use of the space.
Yeah, and quite the departure from typical hotel room design. So I'm curious to know, let's stick in the hotel rooms again, then we'll talk about outside the hotel rooms, because it's such a vibrant food and beverage business that you have here as well, with your partnership with Tao, right? So in the rooms, did you work with Marriott on it, or how much did you bring to the table in terms of all of these new elements that we're seeing introduced that I quite frankly haven't seen in a hotel room in New York City before?
When we first approached Marriott about doing Moxy in the United States, Marriott had already launched the brand in Europe and was contemplating bringing it to the States, but they weren't quite ready. We told them that we thought they had a great concept, but we thought it needed to be somewhat Americanized, and that we would really love to take the lead in doing that.
Excellent.
And they were somewhat intrigued with having a developer taking the lead on it. And we brought Jabu Pushelberg in, who are really typically known for their luxury hotels.
Right.
And asked Jabu to reconceive the Moxy room from Europe in an American-conceived design, right, and then work with them. And then Marriott came in and really looked over our shoulder as we did it and approved the design. So
yeah, that's interesting to me, because they're really putting a lot of trust in you as an organization with a brand that they're hoping is going to have many hundreds of units probably here in the United States.
Well, I think there are two things. Somewhat trust, but they were very, very engaged with their brand team at every level as we designed the rooms, and they had some very good substantive feedback and comment on it. But I think they also felt that if an entrepreneur that was going to be the one putting up the hundreds of millions of dollars to build the hotels and had experience in developing hotels, right, was behind the design, that led a lot of credibility to them in terms of where we were going.
Right. That's very interesting to me. So what were some of the big differences, or maybe they were just subtle shifts from the European design to what Americans you think wanted and are looking for in a product like this?
Well, for instance, we don't have bathtubs. We have showers.
Right.
Right. That was one thing. I think that there's more of a focus in our rooms in terms of the media. So the TV, we can stream live. We have a sound bar that you can also stream from your iPhone to the hotel. There's much more of a design focus in the American hotels. We felt that we could build an affordable product without sacrificing design. I think without in any way disparaging the hotels in Europe, I think there's less of a focus on design and more of a focus on the efficiency of the space.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because everything is well plotted out in that room, and you feel like as soon as you walk in, that it's a very different type of experience. Took me a little off guard, but in a good way, right? So it really surprised me. Even things like frosted windows for the doorway, which is an interesting kind of a design element.
Right, and it was I think there's a little bit of a whimsy in the brand. We don't like to take ourselves that seriously. And the other thing that comes out of it...
Well, you have to have Moxy, right?
That's it. Not accidentally.
Yeah.
The other thing that comes out of it, too, is that Yabel Puschelberg are industrial designers as well as interior designers. So working with someone who's used to designing furniture on a day-to-day basis and products, right, allowed them to look at the room with a different light and not take, for instance, a conventional sink in a bathroom or a conventional closet and come up with a new way of doing each of them. So, for instance, we eliminated the closet in the room and we have a pegboard wall, right? And you have a wall where you can hang your clothes up with beautiful leather hangers, right? But we eliminated a 3x3 closet, which is already 9 square feet right there.
And that would have really, at least in terms of the configuration of the room I was in, totally distracted from the entire thing and shifted the focus from your design elements to a big, bulky unit.
Exactly. And then the sink, we realized that in order for the bathroom to be more efficient, we should remove the sink from the bathroom and put it in the room. But then we said, who wants to walk into a hotel room and look at a sink? So we challenged Yabel Puschelberg to design a sink that was more sculptural and felt almost like a piece of art and a piece of furniture than a typical sink. And they did a spectacular job by designing a sink that's made out of lava stone, which comes from the mountains of France. It's carved out of a mountain, right? It's coated and then it's baked like an enamel in an oven and has beautiful coloration to it. And really you feel like you're walking in and seeing a shelf or a piece of furniture in the room rather than a sink in the room.
That's pretty amazing. I mean, it really is a nice piece. It doesn't look anything like it. Also, is flipping the design, because I'm getting tired now of going in and seeing spa sinks, right?
Yeah.
Because the problem I see with the hospitality industry is everybody's hotel design is different, quote unquote, but then they all go in exactly the same direction and wind up copying each other. So it winds up not being new. It winds up not being fresh. I felt like this particular room, besides being laid out, kind of has the essence and feel of New York with that whimsy in it, but doesn't hit you over with framed artwork of the Empire State Building, which is a little too much on the nose.
Right. Well, it's interesting you say that because, we say a lot about the brand is that we don't want to use design just for design's sake. We want it to be from a practical perspective. And I think what the public spaces are they're viewed as a way to entertain our guests. And the private spaces want to be a place for our guests to come as a haven. Right. So when I looked at the rooms and walked into them, I said to Glenn Puschelberg, I felt like I wanted to disappear right into the room. And he said, if that's how you feel, then we nailed it. Because it's a haven. It's a place to come in a busy, noisy city, right, and escape. Yeah. And I think we've done that with a sense of serenity, with the color palette in the room itself. But when you leave the room, then you're into the hustle bustle of the city.
You know, I didn't think about that, but you're right. That's
right.
exactly what I felt.
Right.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, the beds were absolutely unbelievable in comfort. I had a great night's sleep last night, and I'm not really a good sleeper, but overall, the whole experience was fabulous. Maybe the reason why I had a great night's sleep is because I was enjoying the public spaces, like I said so much last night, which is very interesting. In most of the hospitality industry, everybody's trying to shoehorn the idea of more food and beverage into already existing boxes or in designs that I don't think really create that sense of place. But you're not just having an active lobby. You have multiple food and dining venues here, which is a very interesting aspect, as well as a giant rooftop. So let's start from the downstairs and work our way up through the public spaces. I very much liked when we walked into the building. You have little kiosks that people can really connect with you better, as opposed to that imposing front desk. That's nothing new in the trend world, but I think it worked very well, and I think that it really starts to create the atmosphere between me and the folks that are working on your staff as well.
Exactly, and I think you got that. What we want is, we didn't want the staff standing behind a desk and having a desk in between our team and our guest. So when you come in most hours of the day, the team is standing in the middle of the lobby, greeting guests, and then bringing them over to one of the kiosks to help them check in. I was going to
say that next. Right. How can I help you? They brought me over. We had a nice actual conversation, as opposed to somebody looking down at a computer and typing for 10 minutes and not looking up at me, which was really nice. And then once I was given the room, they escorted me to the elevator and they didn't have to show me how to use the elevator, because I've been to a couple of other hotels that have your system in there. This is a system where you push your floor number and it'll tell you which elevator to go to. So that was nice. That was interesting. And it's good to have those important touch points, I think, with customers more than ever now.
Right. And also, by the way, the design was also designed to incorporate the newest technology. So we're about to introduce in the coming months a check-in where you can come right up to the kiosk on your own if you want to, and check in on an iPad, so that you can bypass, if you don't feel like talking to somebody, you can do it like you're checking in at an airport. And we have the check-in already with Marriott, that if you're a rewards member, you can check in on your iPhone, move over to a different kiosk, which is right around that corner.
Yes, it's got a big glowing key on it. It almost looks like a pylon.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can print your own key out and go right up to your room.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is great. Yeah. And this is where it's odd, because I don't usually compliment these kinds of things. I'm usually very critical of this, because I feel we're at this nexus now where technology is overcoming us in such a way in hospitality that it's a very dangerous moment that we're going to lose that interpersonal connection with our guests. And that's something that I don't want to see, and I'm fighting against. Even your security guards over there were like, "Hi, how are you? Can I help you?" Right? I usually don't see any of that. So it seems to me that a lot of work's been put into this property to make sure that you have those touch points with customers.
Yeah, I think it's critical. I think hospitality is about the connection between the guest and the team member, right? And I think it's very important. In fact, it's how we recruit. We hire people for personality. We hire people that enjoy interacting with other people, right? We don't hire people because they're either technically proficient in a software program to check people in, and we don't hire people because they're 6-foot-tall models and they look beautiful behind the front desk.
Right, but they are, I don't know if they're really young or I'm just getting really old. It was a really strange thing, but every single one of the people that you picked on this staff was fun, bubbly, and had a really light personality that I've interacted with, which is interesting to me, because it's becoming so much more challenging to find the right people to hire in hospitality now.
It's very hard. A lot of the people are new to the hospitality industry, particularly the younger people, which is great. So we look for people, for instance, that come out of sales in different businesses. We have a lot of people that work part-time that are in college or graduate school. To us, the attitude is by far the most important thing.
How much does looking good, dressed all in black, count for you?
Not much.
But they all look great. So okay, so you got the first floor experience, and you go upstairs. Right. And the upstairs, I would say, is broken into 3 specific zones. Number 1, the full service restaurant, Legacy. Oh, that's even better. It's a seafood restaurant. Right. Legasea. Right. Legasea. Right. Legacy. I feel like I'm having problems with addresses again.
Here we go.
All right. So Legacy, very clever play on words. Seafood place, full service restaurant. Then you go into the middle. You have the atrium, which is, to me, the closest you could draw it to is what people think a public lobby is all about. And then you have have a bar area, which actually has two distinct zones within it as well.
And then the studios.
And that's right. And then the studios as well, which is set even further behind. And the studios you could rent out?
You can go into the studios anytime you want without renting them, or if you want to reserve them for the day, you can reserve them to the day. And the studios were an interesting idea. The hotel, again, we step back. We developed this in a select service mindset.
Which is so funny because it's really a full-service hotel. I always call these types of properties quasi-full service because you've got the things I don't care about, like a bellman.
That's
it. You know?
So, and that's exactly right. It's a new version of select service.
Right.
You don't have the bellman. You don't have the spa. You don't have room service. Right. You don't have the banquet space.
Right.
So you've basically left the superfluous services out that most people don't care about.
Right.
Right. And you've given them the ability to do a lot of these things, but more on an a la carte basis. So if you want food in your room, you can come down to the lobby at our grab and go, which we call the pickup, and you can get some food in the lobby, right? If you need help with your bags, somebody will help you with your bags, but they're not four people standing out there to do it for you.
Right, which is great because I really can't stand coming in and everybody begging to take my bag when I'm like, dude, it's on wheels and I travel 100 nights a year.
Right.
You know?
Which happens.
Yeah.
So what I was getting to is that we don't have conventional meeting space also because most of our guests are not guests that today do their business in a conference room, with a boardroom table, a screen, and PowerPoints. Our guests tend to be people that are either in the creative arts, people in the fashion business that really do a meeting. They sit down, they may be showing a product, and they're interacting one-on-one or in a small group. Mm-hmm. So instead of doing conventional meeting rooms, we built 3 studios that are part of the lobby experience. Those studios basically have brass and glass sliding doors with curtains so that they can be left opened completely, or you can keep the curtains open, you can see all the action.
Right.
Or you can close them off and you could use them for a meeting. And they hold up to 16 people, right? 2 of them have big tables in them and 2 of them have sofas in them, right? And you basically can use it to do a very unstructured meeting. And they've been probably the most popular element of the lobby since we've opened the hotel.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It reminds me of it's like when Marriott introduced the favorite guest floors. I'm totally blanking on the name right now. And they would have, you could go and you can hang out in the meeting space upstairs. I feel like it's taking that
the club floors.
The club, right? Club floors, right? And you're taking that concept, but contemporizing it, making it really fit in with the psychographic that you're looking for in the hotel, and then making those separate spaces so everybody can have that sense of privacy about them. But the way it's offset from the bar area, it feels like you're part of the action, but not being bothered by all the action that's going on.
Exactly. And it's been lending itself to a lot of off-site company meetings.
Right.
So we have a lot of companies in the neighborhood that have been coming in and using them for meetings because they feel that it's a much more casual atmosphere and a better way to have their teams meet or to make small presentations.
How important is the overall food and beverage and public space thing to the overall success of this property?
I think in New York it's essential to the success of the property. I think that what you're doing is you're telling your guests that you don't have to stay in your room because you have the ability to socialize and interact with other guests and particularly with local people, which is another important element of how we design the space. We design the space not just to be appealing to our guests, but to encourage people from the neighborhood to come.
Well, you have to, because if you don't do that, you're going to be a big giant failure, right?
Right, for 2 reasons. One, economically, you need them to support you, but more importantly, the guest wants to meet and interact with local people.
Right.
They're not interested in sitting at a bar with 10 people from the same country that they came from.
That's right.
Right. So it's a great formula that you make it inviting to both of them.
That's interesting because we talk a lot about living like a local and being out in the local scene, but what you're trying to do is you're trying to inject the locality even more so into the property than outside the property, because I guess you can't really compete against New York, so you kind of have to take a little bit of a different way by bringing New York into the building.
And it makes it more convenient.
Yeah.
Right. You could come here and you could stay for 3 or 4 days and never leave the property. and have a different experience every night.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. For example, you go to Egghead, the all-day egg sandwich shop, which I have not gotten to. I'm going to do that in the morning, though, before I hit that train home. You mentioned the pickup, the grab and go, Bar Moxy, where I spent way too much time last night because it was just so much fun up there. What a great vibe.
One of the things we wanted to do with Bar Moxy is, and again, part of this was in an effort not only to satisfy what we think today's guest is looking for, but also in an effort to be cost effective in terms of how we develop, is design spaces that work throughout the day. So when you look at Bar Moxy in particular, it's a space that works during the day as a co-working space.
Yeah, it does.
That it's set up with tables, chairs, there are outlets all over, there's Wi-Fi obviously, right? And you can sit, you can have a meeting, you can work on your laptop, and when you walk through it during the day, that's what you'll see. As the evening goes on, right, we dim the lights a little bit, we put on some music, right, and it becomes a nice quiet lounge. And it has a really nice atmosphere to it. And then later in the evening, depending upon the mood of the crowd and who's there at the time, we have a DJ every night, right? And the music may get even louder, right? And the lights may get a little bit dimmer, and it becomes a big party. And it's wonderful that the same space can really morph and work, right, from day, evening, and into night.
That's another thing that I talk a lot about, and I see this with more traditional select service hotels. They don't really know how to take a space that's serving breakfast and make it a fun place to hang out at night. Exactly. It's interesting to me that the design teams that you had here, Rockwell worked on that particular space, was able to balance, the needs of each day part, and I felt like it just really worked successfully. I'm sorry I'm not really sounding all journalistic, guys, on this podcast, but I really like this product, and I'm really just fascinated by it because instead of doing the same thing, you guys are trying to reinvent what we're doing here in terms of hospitality and really opening up that dialogue between the property and the customer in a very interesting and a different way. I mean, I don't want to leave tomorrow here, Mitchell.
Oh, great. I don't want you to leave. I love your enthusiasm.
No, it's great. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to see because I'm just a crusty, cranky guy that goes around complaining about stuff with keynote speeches and stuff. But I've been doing this fall. My big speech has been on storytelling. Right. So now that I've been here, I'm going to be able to include this one in it, which I'm surely going to do. And I think what really wins it over to me is a place that I did not get to see last night, but just got to walk through with you. That's the Magic Hour Rooftop Bar and Lounge. Now, everybody knows that rooftop bar and lounges are everywhere. In fact, you might even say they jumped the shark when I'm seeing Fairfield Inns now have rooftop bars, right? So how do you go about doing something now that everybody feels is essential, especially here in a newish New York City hotel, and turn it on its head to make it something that's fresh, new, exhilarating, and a must-attend place?
And that was the challenge.
Yeah.
So 3 years ago when we sat down, we brought in David Rockwell. And David obviously is a fantastic designer, but his background is really Broadway theater. And we wanted to do something that was a first instance and something that was theatrical.
And this is where we get into the whole storytelling.
Right. And then we were very fortunate to have a food and beverage partner on property, which is the Tao Group, who we are partners with in all the food and beverage venues. And part of the reason this is so successful is not only are they a great operator, but we're truly partners in the food and beverage.
Right. And I should say, as a little aside, one of the most successful food and beverage operators, Tao Las Vegas is the number one grossing restaurant club that there is in the entire country. And I believe Tao New York and Lavo also makes the top 10 list here in New York. So great people to work with.
They know how to make money, but they're also very talented, very creative, and they are fantastic partners. So we set up, we said, listen, we don't want to do just another rooftop. If that's what it is, let's forget it.
Yeah.
And we had a number of brainstorming sessions, right? And I think the original idea came from the Rockwell Group, is why don't we do an adult amusement park? Let's do something that would be really fun. Part of it came out of the concept that we were talking, the basic hotel was approached as urban camping, and we said, let's look at the rooftop as an amusement park. Let's feel like it's a state fair, and let's really make it a lot of fun.
Right, I almost expected to hear circus music when I walked up there.
Right. And then the other thing that we did as we approached it is we had a big enough space that we could do a lot of different things there. We have almost
10,000 square feet.
10,000 square feet.
Dang.
Right. And then lastly, we came up with a way to have it enclosed in the foul weather and the winter, but able to retract the roof in the good weather.
Right. Because if you didn't make that work, then you would lose so many months of the year. I guess all the it wouldn't pencil out in the same way.
You couldn't spend the money on the infrastructure if you were going to do that. So when we first started, we came up with a practical problem, which is that it has a large capacity, probably in excess of 600-700 people could fit up on that roof. And how are we going to get the people to the roof without interfering with the hotel guests? And we started to look at how we could bring them in. And when we were walking around the property one day while it was under construction, we realized that we had an alley between our building and the building next door. And we said, gee whiz, wouldn't it be fun to make the alley like a speakeasy alley and almost like you were walking into a carnival?
Yeah, totally.
Right? So we created that, and it has the blinking lights like the carnival lights when you walk in. It feels like you're walking into a tent, and then you come up through a special elevator to go up to the roof, which is great. When you walk up there and you get off that elevator, there's a big funhouse mirror, right? So you almost feel like you're already in an amusement park. And the flooring, right, is done in a beautiful.
I'm looking at the floor, and it reminds me of like the stone reminds me of what was really popular in 1950s and 1960s.
Right, it's a terrazzo.
Yeah,
right, but it's done in a pattern.
Yes,
that's
I'm forgetting the name of the pattern.
Right.
Oh, we may have to do an edit.
Right, okay.
28 minutes and 36 seconds.
Okay,
but So why don't you just start that point over from the floor and go?
Okay. The floor is done in a terrazzo, but the pattern is a maze.
Right.
So you feel almost like you're walking through a maze when you get off of the elevator, and as soon as you turn the corner, there are 3 topiaries that are in very naughty poses that make everybody smirk.
I know.
Right.
Funny.
Right.
But first of all, I'd like to say thank you for not making the maze complicated, because I do want to get to my cocktails. Right. But then to walk around the corner and see topiary bears doing things very, that you would see in a 101 Sex Positions book. It's pretty freaking funny.
Right. It's adorable, and again, it's part of let's just have fun, let's smile.
Right.
We wanted people to turn the corner at every place on the roof and smile and smirk and say, "Gee, this is fun."
I hate places that take themselves too seriously, and it looks like you've had a "don't take yourself seriously" rule here. Everything has to have a wink and a nod.
Right, and it's throughout the whole property.
Right.
You see that. You see that down in Bar Moxy. You see it up here. And then the way the roof is divided, it really has an east and a west side. So one side is a little bit more formal, right, and has sofas with a retractable roof with a direct view of the Empire State Building. And the other side has round tables, almost like you're at a fair or a beer hall, picnic tables, right? And it has a carousel that rotates, that we actually turn on every night. And the prize seating is around the carousel. So there are 4 banquettes on the carousel that seat people.
That's really fun. That's different. I can't wait to come back tonight after I go to this event that I have to attend and see that in action. I mean, I don't know if my stomach could handle sitting on that carousel, but I think
it moves very slowly,
kind of like a rooftop restaurant, right? Carousel.
But people love it.
I bet it's so neat because what you're doing here is you're introducing things that we haven't seen before. You're not playing on tried and true themes. You're taking chances, and I think that goes well, especially with today's customer. That's become very feeling that they're not being challenged anymore visually, and you're doing all of that.
Right.
Here.
We're looking to entertain them. Right. We're not just saying come and buy a drink. We're looking to provide entertainment and provide an experience that they're not going to find any other place.
Right.
Then you continue along that side of the roof and turn the next corner, and there's probably the biggest surprise, which is our putt-putt or mini golf course, which we call foreplay.
Which is so funny.
Right.
You can't think of the bears, but this is with
but this is with bunnies.
Yeah.
Right. And the bunnies are also, each hole is a different bunny. One is blindfolded. One is a pole dancer. Right. And they're just adorable and fun. And along that whole foreplay golf course, there are drink rails and places to sit and places to stand and have drinks. And frequently in the evening, that's probably the place that has the most people hanging out, talking, playing a little bit of mini golf, and just having a lot of fun.
Right. That's what I like. And again, it's one 10,000 square foot space, but you've created different zones that have different feelings of energy. So if I want to have more of an intimate conversation, I could go to one room. If I want to feel like I'm having more of a party, I could go to another area. And then how many Instagram posts are you going to be getting of people playing miniature golf on your rooftop bar?
Quite a few. We didn't do it for that reason, but it certainly will be a benefit as this goes on.
Well, one of the things that I preach all the time that we're in the era of creating social media moments, how you need to let your guests do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. And it seems like it's a playground upstairs that's just dying for people to take all sorts of amazing photographs and share them around the world.
It is, but that shouldn't be the goal. The goal should be to provide entertainment, and then hopefully that entertainment becomes a memorable moment for them.
I agreed. And then you tie it back in. If you go into the lobby, if you use hashtag #AtTheMoxy, you can see your picture potentially up on the screens that you have downstairs.
Right. That's been a lot of fun. That's actually a Moxy brand standard to put a large monitor at the property that has live feeds from each of the Moxy properties around the world. And basically what it does is it shows the most recent Instagram posts, right? So that everybody could take a look at them and see what's going on at each of the other properties. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Right? And it's right at the elevators when people are waiting to go up.
At this point, we're totally over how long I normally go for these conversations, but I'm so fascinated. I hope we can spend a few more minutes. I want to hear what it was like for you, the process of turning a hotel that was built in 1907 when we had very different needs and desires and technology wasn't there compared to what it is today, and all of these challenges in the middle of Manhattan. How do you turn that something into the Moxy?
Right. It was probably one of the most challenging development projects we've ever approached. What was interesting about this is that it was built as an 1854 key SRO.
That's one of those hotels where people lived in.
Right. And at that time, it was built because the men that were building the skyscrapers in the city, right, were coming into Manhattan from the country. The country at the time was Harlem and the Bronx, right, to build the buildings, and they would stay in these hotels during the week, right? So they would come in, you would get a room. The rooms were 8 feet by 6 feet. They had a single bed and a dresser, right? There were communal bathrooms, right? There were big cafeterias and public spaces. And the idea was you wouldn't stay in the room during the day. You'd go out and work during the day. And to a certain extent, the hotel is almost going back to its roots because you're going back to small rooms, right, that are not meant to spend a lot of time in, and very usable communal spaces, right, for the guests as well.
It's fascinating. So, were you caught up with like historic boards and all of those kinds of things?
Yeah, the building exterior is actually landmarked.
Right.
So we couldn't do anything without the Landmarks Preservation Commission giving their approval. We completely gutted the interior right down to the concrete.
Wow.
And we were constrained by the locations of the windows, but the locations of the windows, because the original rooms were small, actually lent themselves to smaller keys. But it also gave us the ability to do many different types of rooms. So we have 9 different types of rooms that had to be customized to fit the window configuration of the existing building.
It's fascinating. This whole project has been great. How long did it take? 3 years or something?
It took 2 years from the time we started construction, 3 years from the time we bought the property.
Wow. Yeah. Absolutely amazing. Well, any final thoughts or words?
Well, we're working on actually 3 others in New York City. The next one is going to open up this summer in the Nomad Chelsea area on 28th Street between 6th and 7th. A year later, we have another one opening up in the Village, which is on 11th Street between 3rd and 4th. And then we have one opening up a year after that in the Lower East Side.
So how many hotels are currently under development, and how many of those are Moxys in your group?
We're only developing Moxys.
Wow. That's quite the commitment.
Yeah, the other hotels we own, we bought existing properties.
Right.
But our whole development focus right now is on Moxy. We think it really is where the guests of the future want to stay. And we've been working with Marriott in New York, Los Angeles, and Miami, which we think are great cities to develop those properties, and expect to have 7 open within the next 3 years.
What's the coolest part of your job?
I would say the thing that's the most fun is being able to see people enjoying what you created after you've opened it. I think that's what really separates hotels from other types of development.
Right.
The ability to walk through it and look at people's faces and seeing them enjoying it or using it
Yeah.
the way that you anticipate.
It's so great. I mean, this is totally reinventing what a hotel is always supposed to be. I think about when, the early 1900s when the hotel was the part of the neighborhood. It was a gathering place. It was a community. And then somewhere, I think in the 1970s, 80s, we kind of lost our way, and it became about, hey, don't stay here, don't hang out here, don't do anything here, right? Mm-hmm. And now it's all about living here, eating here, working here, doing all of these different things, but most important, being really social and having a great experience and sharing all of that through modern technology. Any final thoughts?
And being comfortable.
And being comfortable, right. Absolutely.
The biggest compliment I received since we opened the hotel is a guest said to me, "This is really cool without trying to be." Right? And I think that's what we want. We want it to be a place where people are comfortable, where you can come and put your feet up on the furniture and feel like you're at home. Right, and not something that's precious that you can't touch, or that that you have to be 6 feet tall to get into.
That's right. I think the biggest surprise that I had with this brand is that I related to it.
Uh-oh.
I know that sounds odd, but when I'd heard about Moxy coming, I was told it's for millennials. It's for millennials. It's for millennials. I'm a big believer that that's a red herring. Right. That customer behavior is actually changing. We're all moving in that direction. It's just that the younger people seem to adapt quicker and express it faster. I think it related to who I think I am as an individual. I felt really comfortable here. I had a great experience to it, and who knew? I was pleasantly surprised. And if you guys have been listening to the last 38 minutes or so, then you'll know, wow, I actually like something. Unbelievable. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Great. And I want to thank all of you guys for listening. And listen, I will be back next week unless I decide to just move here to the Moxy. So who knows? You may not see me again. Thanks, everyone. See you next week.
Thanks so much for listening to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast, with your host, Glenn Hausman, online at rouse.media, on Twitter at Traveling Glenn, and on Facebook.com/Glenn.Hausman. We'll catch you next time.